So the piece I'm talking about, which is being streamed in the Beside the Screen program, is a piece called Double Agent, and as its name implies, it's about agency, and it's about the multiple origins and effects of agency. The work is exploring the interagency between people and machines, and where the machines are employing software agents alongside the human agency that's in the space. So the work is a fully immersive, interactive projection environment. I don't think of my work as so much being in the context of besides the screen for the viewer, but more being in the screen. The work is always immersive, it's always embodied, it's always interactive with the viewer's body. For me, that's very important. Which brings me to the first slide in the PowerPoint, which is this idea of the relationship between body and agency. So I think we're all very familiar with Descartes' body-mind dualism. Gilbert Ryle critiqued that. He suggested that Descartes' model presented human agency as a ghost in the machine, that body was just a puppet, and he obviously thought that was a category mistake, is what he called it, and I would agree with that. And he referred to the work of Thomas Hobbes, who noted that the mind and the body were, as far as he could see, the same thing, that they were made of the same thing. So why would you talk about them as different categories of object? I hope the second slide is visible. So if not, just tell me and I'll stop and try and fix it. So connected to that is the idea of extended mind and embodied and distributed cognition. And so I was thinking about how that could be deployed between humans and the non-human, particularly machines. That obviously raises questions around, well, the uncanny, and that there I was thinking about the Turing test, that can you tell whether a machine is a machine or a human? It's a classic Turing test of whether a machine is behaving like a human or not. And the opposite idea of that is what's called the P-zombie conundrum, which is whether you could tell whether a human was a human or a robot. If in every respect it seemed to be human, behaved like a human, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And of course, you might be able to build a robot that can be like that. Or a human being might not be a human being, it might be a robot. How do we know that any of us have that? That connects up directly with Hales and Haraway and their thinking on, in the case of Hales, technogenesis and the co-evolution of technical systems and humans, human society, and Donna Haraway's idea of the cyborg as a socio-technical and also biotechnological, in the sense of not just human but also animalistic assemblage. And all of their ideas are predicated on the idea that that agency in the individual human and in the collective is something that's both heterogeneous and dynamic, meaning it's shifting and changing all the time. Obviously, their work refers back to Heidegger and Dreyfus's comments on Heidegger about the subject. So Double Agent is an interactive augmented environment where people are physically interacting with their bodies, with the projected images around them. The projected images are computer generated. In Double Agent, there are 2 projections, and well, I should say also that it's using machine learning to create the software agent, and the software agent has been trained 8 hours of dance data of 2 dancers dancing inside the work, and over a period of 3 months of constant training, it generated 10 hours of new movement that was not human movement, it was machine movement, but resembled human movement, but not quite the same. In fact, it could do things that humans can't do, like teleporting, and its arms would get long and its legs would get short, and quite strange things which you might think were bugs or glitches, but I just thought were characteristics of the agent. That's the flow diagram of how the piece works. And this diagram probably makes more sense in terms of the installation. So you can see there are 2 projections, one above the other. There's a Connect that's tracking the human body, connected to a PC, which is doing the motion tracking. That's sending the motion data over Ethernet to a Mac Pro, and that is generating the 2 projections with the machine learning agent as one of them, and the other projection directly related to the human body that's interacting with it, or human bodies. It would interact with up to 6 people at the same time. Not going to go into that slide. I could show you some animation of the actual figure moving, both a human figure and then a machine learning figure. I won't do that. I'll go straight to the video documentation of the work and just play a couple of minutes of it. This is the same tape that's being streamed, same video. That shows you how old I am. I'm using the word tape. Yeah, okay, there's no tape involved in this. So the piece was commissioned for a museum in Adelaide, but this video was recorded at the Arizona State Art Museum in Phoenix. I'll just play this. So the work is an installation, but it can also be a dance work. So here a dancer is interacting with the work. A core concern of the work obviously is about embodiment, and that's only going to work if it's very nuanced and sensitive to the human body. So working with dancers who are expert movers is a real test of that. And I'm fearing that what you're seeing is a very glitchy video of this because of the bandwidth of where I am. But if you're getting any sense of the temporal and spatial granularity of the work, it's extremely fine, very nuanced. The bottom image, the white image, is reacting directly to the dancer. You can see here she's creating a sort of centrifugal gravity force that's causing everything to fly around like mad. The top image is generated by the machine learning algorithm. It's watching her and changing its behavior depending upon what she's doing, but all of its movements are a function of its own determination. So she's not influencing, she's not directing its movement, unlike the bottom image, which she totally directs. And in a sense, she's controlling it insofar as she can. But the top image, she's got no control over, except it chooses certain decisions based on her behavior. And you can see here, she's making very small movements, which are really influencing the work. So very different to the previous sequence where she was generating a lot of energy. And the work obviously is using a physics engine, so energy is really important. All her movements are basically replicated inside the physics engine as dynamic data, and her virtual body inside the physics engine basically operates as an attractor. So the agents are both attracted to her, but also they're repelled by themselves, because each agent's made of thousands of small particles that are creating the whole agent, and those particles are repelled by each other. attracted to the body. So that's a contradiction, and that's what creates dynamic in the work. I don't know if anybody has any question at this point. I've worked with this piece. I've worked with a number of dancers now. This dancer was trained in classical Chinese dance, and then subsequently in contemporary postmodern dance. And so her approach to the work was quite different to most of the dancers I've worked with, who are coming out of either a classical Western tradition or a postmodern Western tradition. Anyway, that's probably a good spot to stop, and I'll go back to the PowerPoint here. And just come to a conclusion about the work. So the work is really looking at the interaction of human and non-human agency, trying to transgress some of those boundaries, some of the liminalities that we take for granted in that relationship. And looking at us and that system as one thing, really, not a single homogeneous thing, but as Hales and Haraway talk about it, as a heterogeneous and dynamic, constantly changing thing. So a contingent thing where each thing is what it is as a function of the other things around it, which are constantly changing, which of course brings us back to Heidegger's concept of interdeterminacy. So I guess the final conclusion here is that in this work there is no dancer or ghost in the machine. The thing is a whole, the machine, the human interactors, maybe perhaps even the viewers who are watching it. And certainly this is not just a work for dancers, it's an installation, not just a performance work. All of them are the dancer. And I think that's where I'll finish. Thank you.